And hello, my name is Martin, and what we'll be doing in this tutorial is giving our house a little bit more character, making it look a little bit more like a structure and less like a box. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of overhangs just to create some interesting things on the structure. I'm going to again do this with a geometry. It came in with the glass because that's what I had selected. So let me actually not have anything selected and get rid of that box. Let's just go edit, delete, and we'll, with nothing selected in the materials box, I'm going to bring a geometry box in. There we go. Okay, so we know that the length of the box, or the length of the building, is about 500, or I think it's either 500 or 1,000. I'll have to look at that in just a minute. Anyways, so let's make a little overhang.
Okay, so wrong direction, let's make this. Alright, and yeah, 300 is a little bit small. Let's make this. Okay. There we go.
Alright, now obviously that's a little bit low for an overhang. If I measure the door, and I figure that that's where the height of the door would be, then that would give me a nice little overhang there, sort of like a front porch idea. And even if we wanted to, I mean, maybe we could bring this over to the other side, and let's flip it around 90 degrees. And I don't want it to go all the way through the wall. Okay. Fairly nice, a little thick. It just depends on, what you want it to actually be like. Let's maybe thin it up a little bit. Let's make that go 30. There we go. Now, if that looks nice, let's see if we can maybe make a duplicate of that. And we'll put a little bit of a roof on this. So I'll go grab another geometry, put it on the top of the building. Let's make the height of this about 30. We'll hit End key to make sure that it's sitting on the roof. From there, give ourselves a little bit of a bird's eye view. And let's expand this.
So that's about 1,000. Okay, and let's make the x-axis, say 1,200. Okay, so we're a little bit more on the y.
Okay. So at that point, you could have something like a terrace roof where it comes off like that. You could create like little columns. So if you wanted to make some columns there, we could go into the cylinder tool, grab that. Now this one we haven't really looked at so far, so let's look at some of the things in the brush settings. The z-axis is going to be how tall this thing is, so let's make it, let's make it 1,000. That should definitely be tall enough to get all the way from the top to the bottom. And the cylinder radius definitely doesn't need to be that wide. So now we have something that's a little bit smaller, like a pillar. And if we wanted this to go through the top of the structure, that would be fine. If we wanted to make it look like it was just meeting up with it, you could pull that down just a little bit and hide it inside. And then you can just move its position around. And then at that point, again, I believe if you hit Alt and drag, you would get another one.
And again, another Alt drag.
Now at that point, these two were not dragged together, so they may not be lining up, but I can go to the first one and I can figure out where its y-axis is. So there's the y-axis. I'm going to go Control C, go to this one, hit there, Control V, enter. Oh. Okay, yeah, that's in exactly the same place. Only thing is this is not covering over the edge. And then I need to check my other ones. Okay, very cool. That looks a little bit more interesting, right? Let's see what else we could do to this. We can maybe make another pillar, put that there. Let's maybe add like a garage area to this. Maybe, yeah, we can create another structure, another piece to the house. It doesn't have to be this boring building like this. So let's add a little bit of a garage to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my world outliner. I'm going to go back to house, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the bottom floor. So I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call this one garage. Okay. And inside the garage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate everything that was the bottom structure for the house. So Control C, Control, I believe let's right click and go edit, duplicate. So that would be Control W in the software. So now I have another whole copy of a bottom structure that I can use. And with this one, I don't need it to be quite as long. Remember, let's go ahead and grab these guys and drag them into the garage. And house somehow went into garage. There we go. So the house structure is now still separate from what would be going on with the garage. Okay. So typically the garage is not the same size as the rest of the house. So let's make this a little bit smaller. And we can go through and rename these. Let's just grab the two houses. And with that, we will have multiple vertices. So what we probably want to do, let's see, we can go into brush settings, multiple vertices. Okay. So let's just make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to select the outside box, and I'm going to make this 515. And the next one will be 515. I'm not changing the height. And actually, you know what? Let's leave the 1,000 so that there's actually some length in it. So we'll leave so all we'll be doing is changing the x-axis. Okay, I'm going to grab now the other box, and we will do the same thing. So this will be 500. There we go. Now, obviously, when we did this, the position of the door, the actual door, the door frame, the subtractive that we're using for the door changed. So I'm going to grab the subtractive, and maybe with this one I might flip it around, so then that way the door would be facing this way, which would be where the cars would be coming in. Or I keep this as a door for people to use, and I put it on the other side of the house where it would make more sense. So let's just grab this and drag it in this direction, and then I'm going to move it into the structure to an area that would make sense. All right, there we go. Now we can go ahead and grab all three of those items. So the sub, the house, door, and we'll just grab and move them as a unit like this. So then that way they are a little bit further away from the house and off that direction. So we have a little bit of a gap between the house and where the garage will be. Okay, so now that we have that, we already have a sub door. As far as the door itself, a garage door would actually just be a larger version of that. So let's go ahead and make a duplicate of that. So we select the inside door sub, and I mean that as in it's a subtractive, and then we'll go edit, duplicate. So now we have two copies of it. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees. And let's bring that this way and then stick it back into the structure. Okay, so obviously if this is going to be a garage door, it's going to need to be a little bit bigger than that. It needs to be large enough for a car to actually fit through there. So once I have that, let's go back into its details panel, and it's going to be the y-axis that we'll need to make. Or no, let's see, maybe the x-axis that we're going to need to make a little bit bigger. So let's make that 400. So we have a much wider door. And let's bring that in. Now we could say that this might be like a 2-car garage. So I'm going to make a duplicate copy of the subtractive. And we'll just move that over to the other edge. Okay, very cool. So now we have our structure for our garage. At this point, we would just need to go and add doors and materials that would make it look like a garage door. Now the doors for garages, you might be able to make the same way that we did the window panes. You make a copy of the subtractive. Instead of throwing a glass on there, you would throw a different type of material. And then with that material, it would look like a garage door. There's also material packs that we'll be actually downloading later in a different tutorial, which will allow us to make this look even more like a garage. If we wanted to, let's change the floor in there, because usually floor for a garage would be concrete. So I believe we do have a concrete. Move this out of the way. We may not have. Again, this might be stuff that, well, there we go. There's concrete tiles. Beautiful. Okay, it's not matching the frames. Not that it has to, but we could drop that on the bottom. And now we have a nice interior floor that's slightly different than the rest. And we could probably do something like that to the inside here. Although here it may not be concrete tile. Here, let's see if we have something that looks more, we have wood flooring. So let's grab a wood flooring and drop that on. And maybe for the interior walls, they don't want rock interior walls. So let's make these, what is this? Like a rock marble? See what we could throw on this. Basic floor. That's also very boring. That at least has got some contrast. It's very shiny. I don't like that one as much. I think I'm going to go back to maybe concrete panels. I think that was the one I like the best. Okay. Let's decorate the walls. Okay. Again, the ceiling. And then we can do that too in here as well. So I forget which one of the wood floors we grabbed. If you ever forget what you've done, you can always just select that object. Click here and you will see the element. And if you need to, I believe if you do that, that'll show you, let me see, if you right click. Well, that's actually the material itself. There we go. And let's go grab those concrete walls again. That's too shiny. All right, really nice, except now this is, let's add actually the concrete to this. Now the thing with the stairs is that each one of these is a plane. So if you want to, you can select the stairs, and then you would have to go into the details panel, go into geometry, select, and it's going to be all adjacent surfaces. That will select everything, and then that way when you drop one, it should drop it to the rest of them. Okay. Okay, so now we have a design on our stairs. We have the exterior to the garage. Now, if we wanted to, we could make another copy of this, put it up to the top, and then that way there might be like a cutout here that would go over to the second story of this building. We could do something like actually, you know what? Doesn't sound like a bad idea. Let's do that. Let's go again back to garage. So that's the sub. That's the garage door. Garage door. That's the building. That's the building. We will edit. Duplicate, shift these up. Okay, and remember that I'm going to suspend them up a little bit higher, and then I'm going to group these, and then I'm going to hit end. Whoops. Let's grab that again. Hold the group actor. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, so now we have our second floor. Let's go ahead and create a passageway between this part of the house and the other part of the house. And actually, we don't even have to create a passage. All we have to do is make this box a little bit bigger. So, garage. Let's ungroup these. Okay, so it's 4, and again, this is where naming would be incredibly valuable. Location is fine. Let's scroll down to where, or up, to where we see brush settings. Okay, and 550 was the short one, 1000 would be the long one, so let's make this 15. Okay, bring that in. Now this is going to be the tricky part, because it just depends on how you want it to look on the inside. If you want the wall there, and we want this wall here, so then that way they're slightly different, we'll have to leave it to where they're just barely touching, so that the structure looks solid on the outside. And then the other thing is whether we want this overhang on this half or not. So maybe this is going to need to burr. See what happens if we line up that side. Then we get a push through in the building here. And that might not be bad. I mean, structurally that doesn't look terrible. Okay, I'll live with that. Okay, so now the next thing will be the box on the inside, because the box on the inside did not change its size. We need to go ahead and give it the same 1500. Not the 1550, because remember it's got to be just slightly smaller than the other box. Now they're not aligned. Okay, so now we should be good. Okay, so the same thing's going to happen here. We're going to add a geometry. That geometry is going to be subtractive. Okay, we're going to go ahead and thin this up a bit. And we'll probably leave that at 50. We'll push that into the wall so we can make the hole between this and the other room. Okay, and this is where our alignment sort of screws up a little bit. This is not... I think they're closer up there than they are up here. Okay, so we might need to make that a little bit wider. So that it actually pushes all the way through. And there we can see all the different layers. And now we can make some readjustments. So we're going to grab the inside of this building, or the inside part of that building, and see if we move it.
Okay, so let's grab this guy now. Ugh, I'm grabbing the wrong pieces of the house. Okay, and I believe this is where that would come in very invaluably. Come in right here. Okay, so those boxes are aligned. Now house 2, house 4 will move as a unit.
Okay, there we go. So we have one cohesive doorway in there. And then if I turn that level back on, we'll see that we have our doorway. All right. Still think that's a little bit short, so we'll make this a little bit taller. Again, we'll go into this, and I think we made the other doorway like 250. And right now it's cutting into pieces of the floor, so I just want to make it up a little bit higher. And then of course you can check to see if that's, looks like this floor might be able to go up a little bit higher. But okay, not bad. Okay, we could extend this kind of like little roof thing that we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'll make another copy of this, or I could just make the, let's see, that go wider and have it go over the entire house. And then all we would need would be a couple more pillars, and maybe to move some of these pillars off now because they're a little too close to the house, I think. So let's grab this one. Let's hold shift. Or I'm sorry, control. And that way I can grab those two together, move them out. This one might be fine. The one on the back is probably fine. And I think I want to make another set. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to hold control, grab the other one. And then I'm going to hold alt and drag out. And that should have made 2. They should still be connected because I have not clicked on anything yet. So I'm moving them as a group. Okay, if I wanted another pair of those, just hold on to them while they're both selected. Move that out, and now I have another group. Okay, so at this point, probably what I would do is just click and grab a couple of materials, figure out what I want the outside of these things to look like as far as the coloring and the scheme for the materials. Maybe go in and give the roof like either a metal color or whatever roof color I think would look appropriate for that. And at this point I have made a much more interesting environment for my character to walk around with. Definitely a house that now no longer looks just like a square box. It actually looks like a building that you might run into. Okay, so we'll go in here, we'll see that. And we just want to check and make sure that we're able to walk through each one of these levels. Maybe we needed to grab something here. Then we've got to go back downstairs, go out into the garage, do something with the garage. Maybe we had to walk, find the keys to this door, open this door, get to the car that's right here. Maybe there's a switch here on the wall that opens up the car garage. Then you get into the car and you would drive out and go do whatever it is you're going to do as a character. Also, if this is going to be cars, that pillar right there may not be a great idea. And see, this is why having walkthroughs is so wonderful, because if you're going to be pulling, like let's say a car is supposed to pull out here, where is it supposed to go? So with something like this, let's see, we'll hit escape real quick, and I'll go ahead and I'll grab, let's say this one and this pillar. So again, we're going to hit control so we can grab both of them and move them together at one time. And we'll leave, let's say, that there, and we'll grab this one and maybe move it over so it's not in the way of the doors. And there we go. So that makes a little bit more sense. Now, instead of a pillar, you could also have a little bit of a wall that goes across here that connects to the ceiling, that gives it, or makes it feel like it's got a bit more support. But structurally, that doesn't really bother me. I feel like that would be able to support itself up there the way that it is. And even if we really felt like it wasn't going to do a good job, Alt click drag another one, and then just get that one lined up with the other one. And we can do that again by going into the geometry, going into its location, and seeing what numbers are kind of the same. So it's probably the x-axis there. So this one is at 291. This one will now be at 291. So it's now even with the other ones. Okay, very cool. So basically, that's what I wanted to show you what you could do with in this video. At this point, it would just be making the structure your own, figuring out, put a garage, put a second, put a something over the garage. Don't make this super extensive. I really only want maybe 1, 2, 3 rooms. This building really has 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms. It has some type of a ceiling. We've made additional doorways in it so that we can navigate between the rooms, and we have added materials to the outside of this to make it look a little bit more interesting. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to actually start downloading packs, and in those packs we are going to basically, these will be couches, furniture, cars, all sorts of different materials that you're going to be able to use to make this look even more realistic. So I hope this tutorial was informative, and you guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.